I always thought I knew what I wanted. For 28 years, I lived my life by the book. Wake up, work, rinse, repeat. My name's Daniel Thomas. I grew up in a small town just outside Omaha, Nebraska. Not much ever happened there, and honestly, that suited me just fine. Predictability was my comfort zone. That is, until a single phone call flipped my world upside down. Daniel, it's your uncle. Uncle Rick passed. I hadn't seen Uncle Rick in over a decade. He was the black sheep of the family, the kind who skipped holidays and sent postcards from places like Santa Fe and Sedona with no return address. The guy owned an art gallery in Arizona or New Mexico. I couldn't remember. All I knew was he was eccentric, impulsive, and, to my parents' horror, absolutely free. A week later, I was on a plane to Phoenix. The will had been read. Apparently, Rick had no kids, no spouse, and somehow decided I should inherit his gallery. It didn't make sense. I was a numbers guy. I worked in finance at a corporate firm in Chicago. My idea of creativity was choosing a different font in Excel. But, according to his lawyer, Rick believed in you. He thought you needed a little disruption. That word stuck with me. Disruption. The gallery, called the Sunroom, sat in a quiet corner of Flagstaff, Arizona, surrounded by towering pines and crisp air that smelled of cedar and possibility. It was nothing like I imagined. The place wasn't some high-end white wall studio. It was quirky, warm, handwritten quotes painted on the walls, beaded curtains between rooms, a vintage jukebox that only played blues records. The staff had all been laid off months ago. It was just me now, and a letter. Rick left it behind in a leather-bound sketchbook. Danny, if you're reading this, it means I've kicked the bucket and you've somehow wound up with my mess. Surprise! I know you probably want to sell the place and get back to your spreadsheets, but before you do me a favor. Stay for 30 days. 30 days. Talk to the people. Open the doors. And most importantly, listen. Art's not about paint and canvas. It's about people. And you've been avoiding them for too long? Rick, I chuckled. Classic Rick. And still, part of me couldn't ignore that tug, the one that said, you don't have to go back just yet. So I stayed. The first few days were slow. I opened the gallery from 10 to 4, dusted the corners, flipped the open sign even though nobody really came in. I spent hours just walking through the rooms, staring at pieces that made no sense to me. A sculpture that looked like a bicycle melting into the floor, a photograph of an empty diner, a canvas painted entirely black. Then came day 7. That was the day she walked in. Hi, I'm Ava, she said, brushing a streak of desert wind from her dark hair. Is the sunroom open again? Her voice was curious, excited. She told me she used to come in weekly. Rick let her sit and sketch, even hosted a local artist night every Friday. This place mattered, she said. It felt like home. I didn't know what to say. I was just the accidental heir to all of it. But something about Ava made it easier to stay open a little longer that day. She came back the next morning. And the next, we started talking about the art, the gallery Rick. And somewhere between day 10 and day 15, she challenged me. You should host First Friday again, she said. What's that? She grinned. It's a citywide gallery night. Every first Friday of the month, locals open their doors, pour some wine, and invite the community in. It's what Rick was known for. I hesitated. I don't know anything about hosting. Then learn, she said. So I did. I spent the next 2 weeks doing things I never imagined myself doing, reaching out to local artists, stringing fairy lights, printing flyers at the town library, even learning how to make sangria from a guy named Mateo who ran the coffee shop next door. First Friday arrived. At 6 p.m., the lights were on. The music played, and people came. By the dozens. Teachers, musicians, students, retirees. They browsed the rooms, laughed, cried. A teenage girl told me one of the paintings made her feel less alone. A man in his 80s thanked me for bringing the gallery back to life. And standing in the corner, sketchbook in hand, was Ava, smiling. That night, when the last guest left and I turned the sign to closed, I sat down on the old leather couch in the back room and cried. Not out of sadness, but out of something I hadn't felt in years. Connection. I didn't go back to Chicago. I stayed. And slowly the gallery became more than Rick's legacy. It became mine. I started seeing the world differently, not through quarterly earnings and fiscal quarters, but through brush strokes and untold stories. I even picked up a sketchbook of my own. The lines were crooked, the colors messy, but they were mine. One afternoon, I found another note from Rick tucked inside a drawer. If you've made it this far, you've felt it. That thing they can't teach in boardrooms or budget meetings. Life isn't about security, Danny. It's about spark. The mess, the color, the surprise. You don't find meaning. You make it. He was right. And maybe the biggest surprise wasn't that I could run an art gallery, or that I could fall in love with a place or a person like Ava. The surprise was that the life I'd been avoiding was the one I was always meant to live. It's been 2 years now. The sunroom is thriving. We've added a community mural wall, a kids' art corner, and started hosting workshops every Saturday. Ava's art hangs in the front window. And me? Well, I still can't paint, but I can listen. I can open the doors. And I can welcome anyone who needs a little color in their world. Because once upon a time, I walked into a life I didn't choose. And I loved every second of it.